And then you can introduce me if you want to, Whitney, or if you don't want to. I don't know if you still have that information from last time, but if you don't, that's fine too. I can
I
introduce
don't have
myself.
it handy.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I can introduce myself. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the Thrive Thursday. Um, it is December 12th. You'll have the date on the video. So, some of us are in our holiday gear. I've got a holiday sweater on. Um, and I've got a little head cold. So, excuse me if I have to mute myself and cough or something. I'm on the end of it, but still a little lingering nasal stuff going on and some coughing going on. So apologize for that. If I need to mute myself, I will, even though I'm the speaker. So I had no voice last weekend, so at least I have my voice back. So that's a good thing for doing presentations. And on the Thrive Thursdays, as you know, as members of LEAP, you have the opportunity as members to do these Thrive Thursday masterclasses where you get to share your knowledge. As you're going to learn about me, I'm the new owner of LEAP for Ladies, right? I'm so excited about growing this community of women business owners and a passion of mine, so much so that I wrote a book about it called Vitamin C3 for Business. The three C's that I live by, I breathe by, are connect, contribute, and celebrate. So I really see these Thrive Thursdays as a way to connect and contribute our knowledge to each other and share that knowledge with everybody else and let everybody know what an expert we are in our fields. So, I am not a financial expert by any means, but we're going to talk about numbers today, numbers in your business. So, I am a business coach. I've been a business coach for 9 years. I've been running two businesses for the last 9 years. I have another business that's 11 years old. That's a virtual assistant company. And in my coaching, I have worked between the two businesses, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, women entrepreneurs who are doing everything in their business by themselves, or maybe they have a small team working with them. But there's so many numbers that we need to look at in our business as entrepreneurs just to kind of stay on top of things. And so I'm going to share with you today just a lot of numbers that we can be tracking in our business and some ways, some practical tips on how we might do that as well. I'm going to set my timer here so I kind of keep track of my time. And then let me pull up my notes so I can read this through with you guys, okay? So, again, the importance of knowing your numbers is I just have had my CEO planning days. So we spend almost 4 or 5 hours of the day reviewing what just happened, digging into the data of our business, right? Because when we have better data, we can make better decisions in our business. And the better decisions, the more better, the better decisions, the more, how do I want to say that? The more better decisions we can make in our business, the better our business does, right? So, apologize for that little tongue twister there, but your numbers really do tell the story of what's happening in your business. They are your compass, your GPS. They tell you what's going right, which direction to turn, if you're heading in the right direction to get to where you want to go. And working hard but not seeing the numbers or the results you want is probably because you might not be tracking the right numbers. So these numbers are really important. When we're feeling overwhelmed and unsure where to focus, our numbers in our business can tell us what needs attention, what number is lagging, where are we below our goals, right? We can look at those to give us some focus on where we want to put our attention. If we have inconsistent cash flow or unpredictable income, we can look at our marketing numbers, right? We can look at different areas and see what the numbers are telling us. Okay, maybe we need to spend more time getting in front of people, or how many people do I need to talk to convert one to a sale, right? So there's all kinds of numbers. Today, we're going to focus on three kind of quadrants of numbers in your business to help you gain more clarity, confidence, and control around what's happening in your business. So we're going to focus on time. Where is it going and how to get more of it? Well, we can't create more time, but we can be more productive at the time we have, right? And I'm going to see, how can I do this here? Move you guys out of the way. There we go. Okay. And Marketing. So how to identify what's working and what's not. We have to be out there in front of people. People have to see your business in order to buy from you. They have to be aware of you first. So let's see what's working and what's not working in your marketing. And then your money, how to track your cash flow, your profitability, and your financial health, right? So I'll share some tools that I've used that have really helped me shift the way I think about how money moves through my business. And we'll talk about that when we get to that section. Then at the end, I'll be happy to share how you might be able to get some personalized guidance on these numbers or through your goals through some of my coaching programs, okay? All right, everybody ready to jump into time? So I'm going to give you 5 of kind of key metrics and then a tip underneath each one. So we've all heard this and said it many times, time is money, money is time, right? So for entrepreneurs, it really is, your time is your money. The way you spend your time will determine your profitability. So when we look at the metrics that we need to be looking at in our business, most of my clients are service-based businesses, right? I know both of the ladies on the call today have service-based businesses, so we're selling our services. And so sometimes that can be an hour for hour kind of thing, or we can create value-based packages around that so that it's not hourly, we can build in some value there. But one of the key metrics that you might consider looking at is billable versus non-billable hours. So are you spending most of your time on revenue generating work? So I've heard this called IPAs, income producing activities as well. Or are you bogged down with admin tasks? So a great way to kind of track your hours, if you're not tracking your hours, and just do a time audit for a week, a general week, if you have a week that looks pretty similar to most of your weeks, just for that week committing to using a tool like Toggle, which is Toggl. It's a free online extension, and it lives up in the corner of your screen, and you can just say, I'm doing admin tasks, I'm doing marketing tasks, I'm doing networking tasks, and then you can kind of do a quick time audit, and it puts it all in a spreadsheet for you, and it will tell you how much of your time you're spending on non-billable or non-revenue producing time versus the revenue producing time. So each one of us might categorize those things slightly differently in our business, right? So I'm a business coach, so I have time when I'm directly working with clients. That's definitely revenue generating, right? But then I also have some networking groups that I'm part of, right? And the Leap for Ladies events, those kind of things. So those are revenue generating, but they're not directly, I'm not getting paid for that hour for hour time, right? So you might just have to look at your business and come up with a system for how you're going to categorize your billable or income generating time versus your non-income generating time. But doing that and taking a look at how are you spending your time is the first step. Then the next step is to look at how much time you're spending per task. So this is another metric to look at, right? So if you think that you're charging for an hour session with somebody, right? And you charge this much per hour, are you really considering that it might take you 15 minutes to prep for that hour and 15 minutes or 30 minutes after that hour to follow up with a client, and there might be scheduling things you have to do back and forth. So it really might be taking you 2 hours to complete that 1 hour of direct client facing time, right? So doing a time audit again about how long does the client work take, or the marketing work take, or the admin work take. So you might think, oh, I can do my own billing and I can do my own, books because it only takes me an hour. But then when you think about, okay, well, I have to actually go into the system, then I have to go research this, I have to enter the time, I have to go back and forth. It might be taking you 3 or 4 hours and you think it's only taking you an hour. So those times spent per project and per task, it's important to look at those numbers as well, especially if you feel like your calendar is just full, you're working all day long, but you don't feel like you're making the revenue you want to, right? So let's look at really how you're spending your time. And then you want to look at your weekly and monthly time goals. So setting some clear goals for how many hours you'll spend on client work, on marketing and admin each week, and then adjust if you're on track. I'm a big believer in time blocking in your calendar so that you can do the same type of work in the same energy block, right? So I'm trying to do all my marketing work together because I have to be in that creative kind of flow. I want to be in that communication mode, right? I don't want to do a little bit of marketing and then go do some QuickBooks and then go do something here and then do a client project and then go back to my marketing, right? So the more you can kind of keep in that flow of energy and tasks and creative mindset, the better you'll be. But I have a client who had a goal last year of creating more white space on his calendar, right? So he wanted to have an average of 10 hours of white space just so he could be creative and have some time to think and have some CEO time. And so we were able to accomplish that for him because we set these weekly and monthly time goals and started building in these smaller chunks of white space. And then we could gradually start moving things around to get him more solid chunks of just creative time, right? So so how you want your weeks a month to look. Um, and then your productive hours. So paying attention again to when are you most productive, when are you most focused. Might be early in the morning, it might be late at night. It's up to you, right? Each person is different. But schedule your most important work during these times. If your most important if work is with clients directly, then you might have to fit in within everybody else's work hours, right? Can't be emailing people or expecting calls at 2 in the morning. You can email people that time. So thank goodness for the schedule send, right? So they don't know you're up at 2 in the morning. But pay attention to your energy peaks and what that looks like in your time. And then you also want to look at your time for client acquisition. What's that ratio? So track how long it takes from first contact till a signed agreement, right? So if you haven't done this, it's not like you need to do this with every client, but you might say for a month or 2 months, depending on what your length of time is. But what's the average? If you can go and do a presentation and people set up a call with you in the next couple of weeks, and then you can convert them on the call, then that's a pretty short turnaround. Or is the average, if you're working with more corporate clients or bigger clients that might have other people they need to get approvals for, you might have to submit RFPs or those kind of things, right? So depending on what your business is, what is the length of your client acquisition time? So if on average it takes 2 months for me to be exposed to somebody and turn them into a client, or it takes 6 months or a year, then you need to build that in so that you can refine your processes, improve that communication to try and speed that up a little bit so that you can really understand how long it's going to take you. So okay, I need to keep my pipeline full if it's going to take me 2 to 3 months to convert people, right? So those are the time metrics. So I encourage you to just jot down, which one of those time metrics would make the biggest impact on your business, and write that down now. So again, we talked about tracking your billable versus non-billable hours, tracking your time spent per task on projects, setting a weekly and monthly time goal by the kind of work or the type of work you want to do each week. Like, for example, in that category, my husband retired this year, and so I now have Fridays marked as work optional. So I'm trying to cram everything else into the Monday through Thursday days, right? To all my client work so that I can have Fridays as work optional to be able to spend some time with him. And during the summer, I paddleboard every Friday morning. So it's hard for me to get work done on Friday afternoon after paddleboarding in the morning. So I started doing that this summer. And so, that's a weekly and monthly time goal that I set for myself. And I do have some Fridays where I have some commitments, but on most of the days I'm able to take that off. So the other one were productive hours. When are you most productive? And then time to close for client acquisition. So those are our 5 key time metrics that I wanted to share with you. So jot which one you might want to make the biggest impact in your business. Next, we're going to jump into marketing. There's so many numbers in our marketing, right? There's so much data there that we can look at. So, excuse me. It sometimes feels like, I'm just going to try these things, throw the spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks, and then hope that I can repeat that again when I need to, right? So when you start to track your numbers, you can start to know what's working and what's not working. When I know, Whitney, you've done the 12-week year with Colleen. I'm going to be taking those over in January of 2025. So in the 12-week year, we really focus on setting 1 or 2 goals for 12 weeks. And then we look at numbers, these metrics, to see is what we're doing working or not working as we move through the 12 weeks to help you achieve that goal. So this ties into some of that stuff. So that's one of the things I'll talk about at the end of the session today. But as we go into these marketing metrics, we're going to jump into the first one, which is lead generation sources, right? So where are your leads coming from? We spend so much time and effort on social media, and I know many people do get clients from social media. Some people never get a client from social media, and they feel like they have to be spending all this time there, and most of their clients come from referrals. So, really looking at and analyzing where are your leads coming from. And, that can be a simple way to ask them when you hop on a call with them, or having it be part of your scheduling software. How did we meet, or how did you find me, right? And just asking that in the initial appointment, so that you can start tracking that number, or those numbers, for how many people are coming from social media, from your networking group, from referrals, from Google searches, right? So when you know where your clients are coming from, then you can double down your efforts and do more of that thing where you can get more leads, right? So that's the first one, is just tracking where your leads coming from. The second one is your conversion rates. We need to know, are you converting leads into paying clients? If your rate is low, you might need to refine your offer, or get some sales training, or your follow-up strategy, whatever that looks like. Maybe you send contracts or RFPs, and then they kind of sit there for a while and people lose interest. So what is your conversion rate, right? So how many people do you talk to in a month or in a week, right? And then how many of those can you convert into clients? So, as we're all out there networking, some of the people we're talking to are not necessarily our ideal clients, but they could be referral sources, or they're in a networking group with us. So we need to spend some time getting to know them, right? So we can refer people to them, and they can refer people to us. So some of the people on your calls each week are not going to be potential clients. So you have to kind of factor that into your conversion rates too. So what I do for this is, in my Calendly, I use Calendly as my event scheduler, my calendar link. And I have one that's just kind of a chat with Mary. So it's for people I know that are going to be more power partners. They're not necessarily clients. And it's a little bit more generic information that I'm asking them for in the beginning. And then I have one that's a focus call that I send that one out to leads, people that are potential clients of mine, because it asks them what's going on in their business. It asks them other questions that I want to know about them being a potential client of mine, right? So I can take those, when I look at my numbers, I can take the people that I sent the focus calls. How many focus calls did I have this week or this month? Those are the ones I know are potential clients, right? So how many of those did I book? How many of those turned into clients? How many signed up for something with me, right? And then I can get my conversion rate. So if you're doing that, it kind of helps to be able to break out the number of calls that you're converting, right? So some of the other let's just catch up calls turn into sales as well. So you never know where a client's going to come from if the conversation goes right. But I kind of don't include those in my numbers for conversion rates, right? But number of calls versus number of clients, how many did you convert? That's an important number to look at. And if you have a certain number and then it starts to go down, then you're like, okay, am I talking about something differently? Do I need to change my sales technique? Am I talking to the wrong type of person? Then go back to your lead generation sources, and say, okay, am I getting leads from different places and they need more education before they buy from me? How do I help get this sale converted, right? Is it a price thing? Am I talking to the wrong people at the beginning? So those first two really tie together. And then social media engagement. So, looking at your likes, your comments, and shares is important, but more importantly is to track the links, the clicks, sorry, track the link clicks and actual inquiries, right? The engagement with you. So this is going back to the time, right? Having a time block when you go in and engage with social media each day or every other day, where you're actually conversing with people, that's what's going to engage people to come and buy from you or book a call with you, right? So we have to be, this social media engagement is the key word. So it's great to go in and scroll and like and comment and share. Those are all good things. And it's good to look at those kind of in an aggregate number and say, what were the topics that got the most engagement, right? So is it a certain topic tends to have more engagement than others? Is it when you ask a question, or is it when you tell a personal story, right? Because then you want to mix more of those things in to keep your engagement high. But you really want to make sure you're actually, if somebody's messaging you, or I guess they're all called messaging in LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, right? DMs. So if somebody's messaging you, you want to make sure you're getting in there and engaging with them. So, but looking at, and then you can also look at your number of followers, right? The number of people following you if you have a business page or your LinkedIn connections. So you want to make sure that's growing consistently so that you're continually growing your exposure to people. And then if you send out an email newsletter, which I highly encourage everyone to do, and, measuring your email open and click-through rates. So how many people are opening your emails and or clicking on the links in your emails, right? So try different subject lines and calls to actions. Again, I keep a master spreadsheet with all of I have a theme for each month for my weekly newsletter. So like this month's theme is, I just drew a complete blank on what it is. Maybe it's connections, traditions. And so each week is talking about different traditions that we have in our business and our personal lives, those kind of things, right? And so I keep a spreadsheet so I know each week what my subject line is, what I'm promoting in my newsletter, and then I put, did I send it? How many did I send? What were the opens? What were the clicks? And did I put it on my social media? So then I can go and look at that, especially in December at the whole year, and I can just scroll back up the spreadsheet and see what were the topics that got the most opens, the most clicks, those kind of things, right, in one spot. So it's good to just look at those numbers. It hasn't in the past directed me one way or the other, but I do go back and review those and just say, okay, this topic was more popular, so let me do more of that topic maybe in the next year. And then I might work that into the theme a little bit differently, right? So that's that. And then the next metric is content performance. So that's really what we just talked about. So what blog posts, video posts perform the best, right? So if you've got a YouTube channel, you can see how many views it had. If you're on LinkedIn, how many people connected or commented, shared it with those things. Same with Facebook and Instagram. So repurpose these as winners. Repurpose those in your ads, put them in email content, make future social media posts out of those things. So keep that content that was engaging in front of your other clients, in front of your future clients as well. So which one of these marketing metrics would help you the most right now? So pick one and write it down. So I'm going to go back through them again just quickly since I don't have slides. So we talked about your lead generation sources, kind of coming up with where your lead's coming from, your conversion rates, how are you converting, how many people do you have to talk to convert people to sales, social media engagement, so how many people are clicking, linking, and actually inquiring from your social media, your email open and click-through rates, and then your content performance. So which one of your posts are doing the best? So you can write down one of those things.
What was the last one?
The last one was content performance. So which one of your posts, videos, or social, posts have the best interaction, the highest views, the highest downloads, whatever you're tracking, right?
Is that by platform or is that just a post in general, no matter where it is?
So I think you would have to do it by platform, right? Because they each have, so if you post something on YouTube, if you're tracking on YouTube, you might look at all the videos you posted on YouTube that month and say which one had the highest content, right? So you might just look at it monthly. If you're doing a lot of content, you might look at these numbers weekly and say, if I posted three, or a video each day, or I post 2 or 3 posts a day on some platforms, are some of the posts getting better? But I would look at that by platform to say which content is performing best on each platform. Okay, I'm going to take a drink of my tea here. And it's got citrus in it, so it's got orange peel in it. All right, last subject that we're going to cover is the metrics with our money. So, of course, better data makes better decisions always, and that really comes down to our bottom line. So if numbers make you uncomfortable, I get it. I have lots of clients that don't want to look at their numbers. They don't want to think about their numbers, but I promise the more you can track your financials and the more you can look at those numbers, the more empowered you are going to feel as a business owner. So again, just doing my CEO days the last few weeks with entrepreneurs and really diving deep into the numbers of our business. People that came to it last year and then came again this year were just felt so much more empowered because they knew what numbers they were going to be looking at, how to find those numbers, what those numbers meant in their business. And so really learning your numbers is a powerful thing. I think I can reach this book on my bookshelf here. If you don't know numbers and you want to learn more about numbers in your business, you can learn from this book. It's a really fun little workbook. It's called The Accounting Game, Basic Accounting Fresh from the Lemonade Stand. So it was written by a couple of college professors. It's got like a semester's worth of accounting in there, but it's written following the story of a little kid starting a lemonade stand, and there's worksheets in there, and it's really a fun way to learn accounting and basically what's going on in your business numbers. So I encourage my clients to use this if they're really not familiar with profit and loss statements or balance sheets or those kind of things. You'll understand and have a really good understanding of that knowledge if you go through this workbook.
Well,
And
less
it's fun.
judgmental than accounting for dummies.
Yes, yes. Basic accounting, fresh from lemonade stand, and they talk about why they wrote it this way, and they say when you were in kindergarten, you learned by singing and playing and colors and bright things. That's how our brain retains this information, right? Makes it fun to learn. So that's why they set it up as this little kid, a 10-year-old boy, setting up a lemonade stand, and he gets a partner, and he has inventory, and he gets a loan from his parents, and so you have all the financial transactions that you do in a business, right? And it's just, it has marketing competition, and it's a really fun way to kind of learn and understand business numbers. So I highly recommend that for people.
Yeah, that looks good.
That's not one of the metrics we're talking about today. Well, they are all in this book. So if you learn this book, you'll learn all of these metrics and you'll be able to talk about them, right? And understand them in your business.
And it's called Lessons from the Lemonade Stand?
It's called The Accounting Game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Okay.
Accounting Game, and it's by Daryl Mullis and Judith Orloff. So I'll hold it up to the screen again so you can see it. Really good basic accounting book for entrepreneurs. All right, so the first thing we need to know when we look at our money metrics is revenue and expenses, knowing our cash flow. Are we bringing in more than we're spending, right? The basic heartbeat of our business is cash. Cash is king, cash is queen, whatever you want to call it. We need to have money coming in our business, right? More money coming in than money is going out. So we need to know what is our revenue number and what are our expenses. And looking at that, if I have clients that still use a spreadsheet to track all that information. I have clients that use, Wave is one of a great free software. I use QuickBooks. And so there's all kinds of software out there to manage the numbers in your business, the financial numbers, but learn how to run the reports in whatever system you do, right? So how are you tracking the money that's coming in and the money that's going out. And just a little caveat, hopefully I don't need to say this, but to our LEAP members, but just in case, always make sure you have separated your business and personal accounts. If you have a business, create a business account. If you have, don't pay for your personal things out of your business account, right? Pay yourself and then pay for things out of your personal account, right? So that's number one rule, keep that money separated. But then that way you can say, what is the money coming into my business? What are the expenses directly related to my business going out? So those are the first two numbers you need to start tracking. I encourage my clients, if you are using a software like QuickBooks or Wave or Xero or any of those out there, to really look at the profit and loss. And when you run the report, I think all of the softwares can do this, where you run the report not only for year to date number, but also by month. So I can run it in QuickBooks. I can say, show me the profit and loss by month. And then it shows me here's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, right? So I can start to see the trend. Here's my profit number, here's my expense number, here's my gross revenue number, right? So then I can see, oh, my revenue's up, but my expenses are up, or my expenses are down, or my whatever it looks like, right? So you can start to see trends if you look at that breakout monthly, rather than just always year-to-date numbers. So it can kind of trigger some extra just awareness of things happening in your business. So number one, revenue and expenses. Make sure expenses are always less than the revenue. If your revenue is, what's the word I'm looking for? Inconsistent or non-consistent, right? So you have different projects you get paid for at different times. Then you need to make sure you have enough in reserve to cover your basic expenses that you have in your business, right? So it's important, more important to build up a reserve of cash so that you can cover your monthly expenses in case you don't have a project that pays you each month. Okay, next up is profit margins. So looking at what are the ways that you bring in money, your revenue streams. Again, we talked about that in the time area, right? Like where are you focusing your time on the things that generate income? So what are the things that you're selling? Maybe you have packages, maybe you have one-off things, maybe you're selling a product or something. So what is your percentage of revenue is profit? So if I'm doing a workshop, for example, if I do it in person, I have additional expenses. I have to rent a room, I have to bring snacks, I have to print off the workbooks, those kind of things. Versus if I do it on Zoom, I can email people the PDF. I don't have to, have my cost for my Zoom meeting, but I don't have any other expenses, right? So my profit margin for online courses is more than my profit margin for holding a course in person, right? So what are your profit margins? Meaning what can you bring in for the revenue versus what expenses are you putting out to serve that income stream? And then if the profit is not big enough, we just had that happen with many of the women that went to the CEO day. They're like, oh, what I thought was more profitable, when I look at all the expenses related to that, that's not really profitable at all. I need to raise my rates or I need to cut expenses. But you can start to look at what's the profit margin and try to make all of your things more profitable, right? So by cutting expenses and or raising your rates. The next metric you need to look at, and we kind of talked about this just a minute ago, is your cash reserve. Just like in our personal lives, it's great to have a cash reserve for emergency funds or, to tide us over. I call it a rainy day fund. I don't even like rainy day anymore. What somebody called it there. What was the name of it? I think they call it their what the hell fund or something like that. So they were working at a corporate job. And so that was kind of their like, okay, one day I could just come in and say, what the hell, I'm leaving and I've got this cushion of money here, right? So, but in our businesses, we do need to have that cash reserve in case a client doesn't pay us on time, or in case we have a project they are paying us in installments and we might have expenses up front, right? So if you can build out 3 to 6 months of your expenses and have that in a savings, that you can have access to, as a safety net just in case things happen, right? And going back to COVID, right, when we all had to shut down for 2 weeks and we thought it was just going to be 2 weeks and then it's years, right? Some businesses never were able to start generating income again. So, how long could you go if you had to stop doing business for a little bit, right? So, or if your client stopped paying you or something like that, right? What's that number? And then have that in a savings account. Then your accounts receivable turnover. So for some of us, we bill our clients up front before they even work with us. That's great. You never have accounts receivable, right? Accounts receivable is money that your clients owe to you. If you invoice your clients and then you wait for them to pay you, sometimes, depending on how you sent the invoice, if it's, net, pay upon delivery or whatever, or net 5 or 10 or 30 days out, if they're waiting 30 days to pay you, again, that's where that cash safety net can come into, cash reserve can come into play. But how long does it take for clients to pay you if you're not getting paid up front? So, just adding in some of those payment terms, looking at those things. If you have receivables out there, how long are they sitting out there? And is there a way you can shift that so that people can pay you ahead of time or pay you half up front or something like that, so you don't have to worry about that? And then the cost of client acquisition is another number to look at in our bottom line numbers, right? So how much does it cost you to acquire a new customer? So are you running ads? Are you paying a virtual assistant or a marketing person to go out and do your marketing for you, right? To get new customers to you. This is again where that tracking your, that's my timer. So tracking your conversion rates and your lead sources is going to give you great data to be able to say, how much does it cost me if I'm running Google ads and Google is one of my top places of referrals, and then I look at my client conversion rates and I can say, okay, from all of the calls that I get from Google, I can convert 1 out of 2 of them, then it's worth me paying for the ads, right? So what does it cost you to acquire a new customer? If that cost is too high, you may need to refine your marketing strategy. If it's okay, then keep doing what you're doing, right? If it's working for you. One of the biggest changes that I made in my business was about 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago now. And I switched to the Profit First method. It's a book. Let me grab another book from my bookshelf here without causing an avalanche. But this book, it's called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, and it was a game changer for me. It sat on my bookshelf for like 5 years before I picked it up and read it. And when I actually implemented it, it was a game changer. So it's basically kind of like the envelope system if you've done Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman or any of those kind of things, but it works with your bank accounts for your business. So you set up 5 accounts. So go to a bank that doesn't charge you per account for sure. And then you have all of your income come into one account. And then twice a month you go in and you allocate it to different accounts. So there's an account for your operating expenses. There's an account for your owner's pay. So you pay yourself. There's an account for profit. And then there's an account for taxes. So you distribute a percentage of all the income that comes in each month. And distribute that to these different accounts, and then it sits there and it does its job. So then all my expenses are coming out of my operating expenses account, right? So then it's easy to see if that money runs out of money. I know my expenses have gone way more than I expected them to, right? So if something's out of balance, I can go and look at what's going on there. And the owner's pay, just knowing I can pay myself twice a month and that money is there in the account. And then paying taxes, right? So paying quarterly taxes, company taxes. Every quarter, I can just go in there, pull that money out, and I know it's sitting there and it's ready to go. So it's a game changer in just how you feel about the money coming through your business. So you can go read the book. If you have questions about implementing it, I tell everybody about it. I'm not a certified Profit First coach, but I've been using it in my business for a long time and have helped many clients set it up. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about it. But again, it's Profit First by Mike Michalowicz is the author's name.
And what were the 5 categories again? I have owner's pay, operations, expenses, and taxes. Was there a 5th one?
Profit.
Profit. Okay.
Profit. So what I loved about it is you set a certain number aside for profit and you put that money in there. And then once a quarter, at the end of the quarter, you take half of your profit out and you pull it as a dividend for yourself as a business owner and you go do something fun with it. So I love that. He said, unless you have debt, then you have to put 90% of that, half that you take out, 90% has to go against your debt, 10% you have to do something fun with, which I love that build in the celebration. Like I have a profitable business. I get a dividend, just like big corporations get dividends, right? We get dividends on our business. So it's a great, great system for running your business. Okay, so which one of the financial metrics do you think you might make a big difference if you started to look at? So we had knowing what your revenue and expenses were, your profit margins. What are your profit margins? What's your cash reserve number that you need to have in savings, just to kind of give you that safety net? What's your accounts receivable turnover if you have that number out there, if you have clients waiting to pay you? And then what's your cost for acquiring new clients, right? This is why getting direct referrals and um, getting repeat clients is really great because the cost to acquire them is very little, right? So good thing to look at those. So write down whichever one of those you might want to try and start paying attention to knowing those numbers. So as we wrap up today, we learned how to track so many different numbers, and we just scratched the surface. There's lots of numbers in our business, right? But we talked about tracking your time, your marketing, and your money. So if you track just one new number from each one of these categories, you'll have much more clarity and control and confidence in your business, I promise you, as you go through the next year. So again, we've talked about how that's changed some of my clients' lives, how it's changed my life, having that information at hand and easy to read reports from QuickBooks and the tools that I use. So we talked about those. I know it can be overwhelming, and as business owners, there's so much we have to do. But if you need some clarity around that, you don't have to do it alone. I can help you come up with a dashboard of numbers to kind of look at what do I need to be looking at each month. And we can do that even in one of my 90-minute focus sessions. So it's just a one-time 90-minute session. And you can book those on my website. They're $350. But we can really do a lot in 90 minutes, going through your business and looking at some of these numbers, figuring out which ones you already know and are they working, and then analyzing which ones you need to maybe start focusing on to get you to your goals. And if you want one-on-one coaching, I also do that with my clients. I also have peer advisor boards, so there's small mastermind groups for women entrepreneurs that meet once a month. So that's a great way to kind of check in with your business once a month and really understand what's going on. Of course, the LEAP community, we have some amazing resources here. We have our business coaching mastermind on the second or the third Tuesday. We have these Thrive Thursday masterclasses where you can come and learn. And then we have the lunch and learn on the first Monday. You're not going to learn so much there, but you're going to interconnect with other entrepreneurs who are out there running their businesses. So if you would like to learn more about how I can support you in your business, you can book a free 30-minute focus session with me. I'll put the link in the chat in just a moment. Do you guys have any questions about the numbers in your business? Anything around all of the numbers I talked to you about? There's a lot of numbers that we talked about again. But do you guys have any questions about any of these things?
That was great. That was great.
It's a lot. I always just
It's
like,
a lot, yeah.
blah, 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 blah. So much content.
I'm like, I just need to raise revenue.
Yes, yes,
Raise revenue. The rest is, yeah,
right.
comes after that.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a nitty-gritty little tiny question that, it was actually came from when you presented a previous time.
Okay.
You color coded your calendar, and I color code my Google Calendar, but your colors were actually labeled, and I could never figure out how to change the labeling of my
Oh,
colors. So
let me share my screen and see if I can figure it out while you're on the screen here. Let's see, my calendar is not open yet. So here's my calendar. And if I go into something and I right click on it, or I go into the detail, go into edit it, I go into this. So when I go, does yours have a color option there?
Yeah.
So all I did was click on this button, and then I think if there's a little plus sign there and you can add the label. Do you use Gmail? This is a Google
Yeah,
Calendar.
yeah. Let me see. I don't have a plus sign.
Oh,
Hmm.
but you can
Um,
see the colors there.
I have colors and I know what they are, but then I hired an admin and I was like, oh, it would be nice to see the colors actually labeled. I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
remember now if I Googled it back at the time or not. But
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't know how I did it, but that's how I would do it to add I've got two colors left. I wish I could add and change the colors around. That would be nice too.
yeah,
Um,
the new ones.
but yeah, hopefully, I don't know how to tell you to get the button there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, not much help there, unfortunately, but at least you've seen how I do it. So if you can figure out how to get that button there, then you're good to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I have one that's the nice thing about being in a smaller group. You can ask questions.
Yeah.
I think we've all had clients who maybe kind of in an introductory, meeting, you can kind of tell which clients for the same work that's going to be done is going to take more work. So in other words, like for me in writing, I'm often asked, well, what do you charge? And it's like, I really get to know the clients a little bit because some things are probably going to be per hour. Some things are
Mhm.
better for the project. Now, the more people have questions and want to be hands-on and we're going back and forth with revisions, et cetera, again, that's that it costs time. So, I feel like with some people, it might be better to do billable hours versus a project cost. How do you how do you handle that on the upfront?
Yeah, I would make that part of your intake questionnaire, right, or your intake interview with them, so that when you are interviewing them, you'll kind of get a sense of, are these people going to be more hands-on, right? Meaning they're going to need more revisions, more time to review things, um, or are they ready to just say, go and do it, create it, and I'm fine. I might make an edit on the end. So are there questions that you can create that would help you get more insight into that type of personality in your initial interview with them, right? And then you might offer them two different ways. You can say, here's how I work with clients, and based on our conversation, it sounds like you want to be more hands-on and maybe have more editing time. So that's going to lead me to recommend this package, which is, a base fee up front and then hourly after that. So we can get all the revisions done that you want and not have to worry about staying within a package, right? And if they're more upfront, they know what they want, they just need somebody to do it and get it done. You can say, okay, based on our conversation, I would recommend that we go with this package. It includes this many hours of writing and this much blah, blah, blah. You can kind
Sure.
of go into some details. But that way you can recommend the package that you think might be better for them, and then they just say, oh, you're the expert, you know what I need. They're looking for you to recommend what they need anyway. So that
Right.
way, if you spend a little bit more time up front with them, you might be able to recommend one package or the other, and just say, based on our conversation, you might need some more interaction, so we'll have this one with an upfront cost, and then we can go hourly so that we can get all the revisions forever, until you're fully satisfied, kind of thing, something like that.
And I can sense that, for some people, I feel like it's gonna be like, oh yeah, let's do the upfront and then, billable hours after that. Um, if it comes to, yeah, here comes a round of revisions, maybe just to
Right.
remind them and say, okay, this is gonna take me X amount of time.
Yes,
You're
yeah.
okay
So
with
if
that?
you
I'll,
if you
I'll
sold them
proceed.
a package that includes so many hours and including the revision hours, and they
Mhm.
start to get up against those hours, then you would just need to tell them, hey, this might be the package that you bought included this many hours or this many revisions, and we're coming up against that deadline. So if we go over that, it'll be this much per hour to add on additional time or something like that. So then you could always add that on in the back end. But starting them with the package, if again, I'm a big believer in Parkinson's law, which is the amount of space, time, or energy that we have is the amount of space, time, and energy that we will take. So if you give
Sure.
somebody a package and say we only have 2 revisions, they might get it done in 2 revisions. If you give somebody endless revisions, they might take forever to get the project completed. So, you know,
Right.
works both
I'm
ways.
assuming that how, how do you operate? I feel like the more people I talk to, the more I feel like they at least charge half up front.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if you're offering a package or the initial
Sure.
work and then, then hourly after that, you would
Okay.
want to let them know clearly, for the initial work to get started, there's this deposit and then I'll bill you hourly each week until the project's done based on the hours spent that week or something like that,
Okay.
until the project's done.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Good. Awesome. Well, I know we're at time, so thank you, ladies, both for showing up. And I'm glad we got to do this one. We had some technical difficulties in November, so I didn't get to do this presentation, but I'm glad I got to share it with you guys today.
You share emails?
Yes, please,
Okay.
you can put those in the chat.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to talk a little more with you, Whitney.
Yeah, and I'm
Looks
gonna
like you have a
stop.
website.
Oh, I'll put my calendar, yeah, here, let me put my